views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. Each week, you'll learn how to navigate the global shift of consciousness and explore the deeper knowledge within. Welcome home. Now here's your host, Dr. Kelly Neff.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Kelly Neff, and you are listening to Lucid Planet Radio on Transformation Talk Radio, CRN Digital Talk, and WBLQ 1230 AM, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New York. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience healing, inspiration, and knowledge, because every week on Lucid Planet Radio, we have some of the most gifted scientists, healers, speakers, and authors helping you to become the greatest version of yourself. You can find out more at thelucidplanet.com and stream all of our podcasts for free on lucidplanetradio.com, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, and more just by searching for Lucid Planet Radio. You can also connect with me personally on Facebook and Twitter at The Lucid Planet with Dr. Kelly. And you can now find me on Instagram at The Lucid Planet to get a little glimpse of my crazy, magical, wonderful life and all of my adventures. So I hope that you will join me on social media and continue our dialogue. I also hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July. I love America so much, and I'm so grateful to live in this country. I'm also really pleased to announce that we are streaming on CRN Digital Talk Radio. It's bringing us to over 11 million homes in the U.S. and over 100 countries. Visit thelucidplanet.com to find out how to become an advertising partner or a sponsor, how to nominate people for the show, or just how to listen live in your area. Wow. So much gratitude for this life. And I'm really excited about today's show because we're talking about something that I find incredibly fascinating, and millions of people agree, and that is astrology. Now, I have never done a show on astrology in all of our 50 episodes, and I want to preface this by saying that, yes, I am a psychologist, I'm a trained scientist, and so I naturally approach astrology with a healthy dose of skepticism. And yet, at the same time, astrology has predicted so many things in my life. It has been incredibly helpful to me, from relationship compatibility to understanding my own and others' personality. So I do really wonder, as a scientist, it's quite possible that the heavenly bodies really do have an effect on us, just like the moon affects the tides and, studies of semantics. After all, we are 80% water. Now, there could also be a psychological phenomenon. Perhaps the belief that the planets is affecting us is strong enough to create a world where they do, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But either way, I don't know. So I'm just putting it out there that astrology seems to be a really extraordinary tool for understanding ourselves and others. And to discuss using astrology and relationships, I am very pleased to welcome Priscilla Costello to the show. Priscilla is a counseling astrologer, educator, speaker, and writer with an international astrological career that is spanning over 30 years. Wow. Her book, The Weiser Concise Guide to Practical Astrology, is really elegantly written introduction to astrology, and it relates particularly to psychology as well as the esoteric traditions. I found it fascinating. Priscilla Costello is also celebrating the recent publication of her latest book, which is Shakespeare and the Stars, The Hidden Astrological Keys to Understanding the World's Greatest Playwright. Yes, the bard really did draw on astrological symbolism when he was creating his works. And I must confess, I'm a huge Shakespeare fan. I got to study Shakespeare at Cambridge in England. I took several drama classes. I've been in lots of Shakespearean plays when I was in college, and perhaps my greatest achievement was memorizing literally the entirety of King Lear for a drama class when I was at Georgetown. So in addition to psychology and love and relationships, we're also going to get to talk today about Shakespeare and astrology. So I'm totally stoked. if you have any questions for us, you can call in. We are live, 1-800-930-2819, if you want to speak to us on the air. And on that note, let's welcome Priscilla Costello to the show. Hi, Priscilla.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me as a guest today.
It's wonderful to have you on. I'm very excited. And I'd love to know, Priscilla, what got you into the study of astrology?
Well, I had gone off to college planning to major in English and psychology, and I was really bored with academic psychology, which at the time was all about statistics and rats through mazes. I was looking for a comprehensive, sophisticated, elegant system that could be applied to anybody, didn't matter what the gender was, didn't matter what the social status was, didn't matter what the ethnic background was, and I could not find that in academic psychology. So I left that, and sure enough, you know, when you leave a vacuum in your life, the universe tends to bring something along that will actually fill that. And within a year, I had stumbled on a book on astrology, and it took me a while, quite a few years, before I suddenly realized this was the model I had been looking for. This was a rich, symbolic picture of the human psyche that was so revealing. I was just astonished to see how much information you could get from a chart.
It is quite astonishing. And it's funny because, you know, I am an academic psychologist, but I have to agree that there are a lot of things that we still don't understand with the traditional psychological methods that we use.
See, I was looking for the big picture. I was looking for, you know, not just Freud's kind of superego, ego-id, or, you know, extroversion versus introversion. I was looking for something that was on a larger scale that I think had richer symbolism attached to it, and that was probably asking too much of the psychological discipline.
Yeah. So do you think that, I guess my question is, how is astrology something that has been part of kind of this collective consciousness of humanity through its symbols for a very long time?
Oh, I think from the very beginning, because human beings had a relationship to the sky. You know, we forget because our lives are filled with electric lights, and for a while it was candles. And so I think we've been sort of cut off, in a sense, from our rhythmic association with nature. But for people who lived before our time, they would have been much more aware of the sky and the changing patterns in the sky. And most of the religions, even as far back as we know, posited that there was a relationship between the heavens and the earth, and that, in fact, the earth was, in a sense, a kind of reflection, a mirror reflection of the heavens, and that in order to be in harmony with that, you needed to kind of get with it. You needed to create architecture that was sort of in line with the cosmos. It was geometrically perfect, or it was capturing the like the golden mean, the relationship between the human body and the building that it was living in. So there was a sense that everything was interrelated, and that's really the fundamental point about astrology, is that it's about the interrelationship between nature, humanity, and the cosmos.
Wow, I love it when you say it like that. It's definitely, and I
think
really,
that's why people won't give up on astrology. It doesn't matter what, you know, the mechanist materialist paradigm is. I think people really innately feel that they have a relationship to something bigger than themselves, and that their lives have meaning. And that is really what astrology can, I think, demonstrate to people. You know, because all the time I have clients coming to see me whom I've never met. I know nothing about them. In fact, I don't want to know anything about them before I see them. And if you can lay out a picture to them about what their strengths and weaknesses might be, or where their challenges and their talents are, and then you can do something with astrology that there isn't anything in psychology that can do, which is it becomes a moving pattern over time. You can talk to people about what aspects of their own inner psyche, what talents and abilities they could draw on at a particular time in their life, and where they might best meet the challenges, and how long those challenges are going to last. It's incredibly practical and useful.
I mean, I've definitely experienced this. I've had my chart read. We have a couple minutes till we go to the break, and I just wanted to bring up the consistent kind of criticism or argument that I hear a lot, and I kind of wonder about it as well myself, is, so does everybody born on the same day in the same place, are they all the same because they have the same star chart? Or are they still different in some ways?
Well, they have similarities and differences. because actually the chart moves 1 degree every 4 minutes. So to have a chart that's exactly the same as another chart, you'd have to have 2 individuals born at the same place, absolutely at the same place geographically on the Earth's surface, within 4 minutes of each other, on the same day in the same year.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's one thing that clears it up, because people always say, oh, well, yeah, everybody who's an Aquarius, we're all the same, or everyone who's a Pisces, we're all the same. And I think it's a lot more, I think that for the popular sense, it can be very oversimplified. My other question, and I just want to clear...
Can I say one more thing before we go on to the next one?
Absolutely.
What I think people don't understand is every one of the symbols has maybe 15 or 20 different possibilities embedded in it. And so even an individual who is like a Sun in Aquarius, they have a variety of ways they can express that Aquarian energy. Or if they were a Scorpio, or they were a Virgo, or they were a Cancerian, or whatever they happen to be. You know, for instance, Taurians can sometimes go toward the artistic side, like Barbra Streisand is a Sun in Taurus. But because Taurus is ruled by Venus, they might also go in a different direction. They might be collectors of art, or they might be gardeners. You know, people who are really in touch with the earth. All of those things are embedded possibilities in the sign Taurus, and that individual has the option, in a sense, to express any one of those.
So this is really, like you said, it's a model that's in movement, and it's not any one thing that's fixed. And your sign
It's very multifaceted. People don't realize that. They think that if they have a particular pattern, it has to be a certain thing. That is absolutely not the case.
Well, on that note, we're listening to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk much more about astrology, love, relationships, psychology, and even Shakespeare with Priscilla Costello. So we will talk to you in a few moments. Stay with us.
What if your body and mind were the compasses to the secrets, mysteries, and magic of life? Glenna Rice, co-host of The Questionable Parent, is inviting you to access all that is possible. Glenna is a 10-year certified veteran access consciousness facilitator who offers an amazing variety of life-changing classes and workshops. Work with Glenna from anywhere, with teleclasses and workshops all over the globe. To learn more and see Glenna's current schedule of events, classes, and workshops, visit glennarice.com.
Chris Stanis is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune into Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Introducing the Lucid Planet, a digital gathering place featuring cutting-edge, high-vibrational content that will empower and inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Visit the Lucid Planet today to stimulate your mind, body, and soul as you connect with a global community of like-minded people. The Lucid Planet is edited by renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly Neff, who is here to help you cope with anxiety, connect to your higher purpose, uncover your true passions, and live your dreams. Dr. Kelly's fresh, compassionate perspective emphasizes growth, transformation, healing, and thriving, even in the face of adversity. Say goodbye to bad news and low vibrational media for good and become part of the larger collective of people working together to navigate the global shift of consciousness and transform the world from within. Join the planet, the Lucid Planet. Visit thelucidplanet.com. welcome home.
Hello, we are back on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, and my guest today is Prisiclla Costello, who is here talking about astrology, relationships, and even Shakespeare. Remember, you can call live into the show at 1-800-930-2819 if you have any astrology questions for Priscilla. But before we continue, I want to make sure, Priscilla, everybody knows how to find you on the web and to find out more about your books, your counseling astrology, the new Shakespeare book, and more.
I think the best place to go is my website, which is PriscillaCostello.com. I'm embarrassed to admit that the Shakespeare in the Stars website is still under construction, but we've kind of surprised by the fact that the book came out earlier than the projected publication date, and I don't think we were quite ready, with the actual website for it. But apparently Amazon has quite an excerpt from the book is on Amazon, so if people are interested, they could look at that as well.
Awesome. So PriscillaCostello.com, and you'll be able to find that link as well in the podcast for today's show. Before we left for the break, we were talking about, astrology and how it's such a rich language that people can use. And I think that there's a lot of confusion and a lot that people don't know. Astrology is just more than just your sun sign, right? There's the moon sign, there's the rising sign. Priscilla, could you explain to our listeners what the difference is and why this is important?
Well, it's really important, I think, to know what your sun sign is, your moon sign, and your ascendant sign, which is the rising sign that you talked about. Sure. Because, the longer I do this, the more important I think the moon sign is. And in fact, a long time ago, you would have been classified by your moon sign, not by your sun sign. And I think that's because people were, more connected to a family. If you were born into a particular family, you would probably take the same career that your parents had. You might work in the family business. You probably wouldn't leave the little town that you were born in. So the moon has all to do with that, your home, your family, your sense of clan or tribe, or what your affiliations are, where your emotional affiliations are. So that's quite important. The sun sign, I think, is still important. I'm sometimes surprised at how much the sun sign still communicates information about people, even though I think it's been oversimplified in the newspaper and the magazine columns and on the internet. The rising sign is also, it's the third thing. And by the way, when astrologers go to conferences, on their name tags, they have their sun, moon, and ascendant sign because that's how they introduce themselves to each other.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
The rising sign has to do with the way you project yourself. So you can sometimes appear more like your rising sign to people than you might appear like your sun sign or your moon sign.
That's so cool. So if I'm a sun in Aquarius, moon in Leo, and my rising is Sagittarius, can you tell me really briefly what that would say about me? I'm just curious.
Well, all three of those signs are extroverted signs. So you're absolutely doing the right job because you've got a career that really puts you out there in front of the public. And
I'm not extrovert at all.
And about communication, which is a kind of a consideration with Aquarius. And the Sagittarius rising does give a very positive, optimistic attitude, and it also gives a philosophical interest, an interest in people, an interest in ideas. So it's an excellent combination to be a public person and media person.
Cool. Well, I guess, I guess I'm on the right path then. I had to leave it. I was an academic. I left a different life to start this one right around my Saturn return.
And this is really appropriate for you.
Yeah, totally. So we were also talking before the show about how this was an auspicious day astrologically for us to do this show. Can you explain to our listeners what that means for that to be a certain day being auspicious or having meaning versus other days?
This is something you can actually buy astrological calendars, which will tell you for each day what the aspects are, and you can figure out where the moon is relative to the sun. So one of the things that you look for that's very positive is you look for the part of the monthly cycle where the moon is on the increase. It's moving away from the sun and going toward being full. That's supposed to be very positive. You also look for a day where, on balance, the aspects between the various planets are harmonious, which means they're 60 degrees or they're 120 degrees, or maybe they're heading for a conjunction that might be a very positive conjunction, because it just seems to have an awful lot to do with what the energies are of the day. Now, this is interesting because the moon happens to be in Leo today, which is a very good day for you because you natally have a moon in Leo.
Yes.
So if you were scheduling something on a monthly basis, one of the auspicious periods during the month for you would be whenever the moon is in Leo.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. I guess I'm going to need to invest in an astrological calendar then, and kind of start playing around with that. The other question, of course, I have is surrounding relationships, because one of our favorite things, in this culture for as long as I can remember is kind of like the bedside astrologer and what signs match with what other signs. And do you think there's anything to this? Can we use astrology to understand human relationships?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The problem is it's much more complicated than you would think. It isn't just does the sun sign work with the other person's sun sign. And I'll give you an example. Prince Charles and Princess Diana. They had sons that were very compatible. She was a sun in Cancer and he's a sun in Scorpio. They're both water sign suns. There was nothing else that was compatible in the chart. Their moon signs clashed, which meant their living styles, their personalities, their temperaments, the way they liked to live at home was very different. And ultimately, there just wasn't enough there that was compatibility that made it work.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be more than just the sun signs being compatible.
So can you use astrology to help you find your quote-unquote soulmate?
Well, that's a tricky question, because I think there's a number of people you can be compatible with, but it might be for different reasons. It might be that you've got a connection with somebody and you feel a great friendship with them, you feel comfortable with them, you enjoy doing the same things together. Sometimes what connects people is an intellectual compatibility, and they have wonderful things to talk about together, and they always have ideas that they're sharing together, or they have projects that are sort of mental projects that they like to do. And then, of course, there's always the time when you have this magnetic sexual connection with somebody else, and that's often because Mars or Venus is in the picture. But that's normally not something that is sustainable, or it doesn't lend itself to long-term compatibility. If you're really going to have a relationship that lasts, what you really want is everything. And, of course, it's not possible to get two charts that fit together where absolutely everything matches beautifully. So you kind of, it's a trade-off a little bit. You have things that work, and then you have some other things that you have to make some compromises, or you find something, maybe you'll have to find some of your mental enjoyments with other people, or maybe you have friends that you go to the theater with because the person you're with doesn't like to go to the theater. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
So if you were in a relationship and you were having some conflicts and struggles, would you look at the two charts and try to figure out where the source of that conflict was so that you could address it?
You'd definitely start with that. Start with looking at the individual charts, because each person, what's reflected in their chart is what their needs are, what their propensities are, what they're looking for in a relationship, what their life purpose is about, what their talents and abilities are. You can tell if they were likely to have specific problems in a relationship, and then what you do is direct them to work on that. Maybe they need to do some therapy. Maybe they need to do some reading. Maybe they need to take some workshops and some personal growth or self-development. Then you also look at what happens when the two charts are brought together. That's where you get some of the compatibility. And the third factor is sometimes one or both of the partners is having really difficult transits. They're in a cycle in their life that just makes it very difficult for them to find that their relationship is going successfully. And what the good thing is about that is you can tell them how long that's going to last, and you can suggest some things they can do that will help them evolve, help them work with that particular energy while it's happening.
Sure. So when you say transits, for those of our listeners who are not familiar, you're referring to the way that the planets move through the different houses of the chart?
I'm referring to where the planets are right now. And you can buy tables of planetary positions. They're actually created by, I think it's the Naval Observatory. And so astrologers carry this around with them, or these days they have it in their computers. They don't actually have to truck it around. So if you know where the planets are at any given time, you can even look ahead. You can look ahead years and say, oh, I'm going to have such and such going across my sun, or it's going to affect my moon, or it's going to hit my Venus, and maybe there's a great relationship possibility if that's the case. And,
Gotcha.
And that's what I mean by transits. Transits are really a powerful, I'm going to use the word predictive tool. They'll predict the time period. They can't necessarily predict everything that's going to happen or even precisely what's going to happen because, as I said, there's multiple possibilities inbuilt into every symbol.
And I think that's really important that we don't try to kind of define ourselves according to only one very linear explanation of astrology. And I think that, or maybe you would agree, that's where a lot of the criticism comes from, is that, oh, it says this, so this is me, and I'm just going to cling to that. But actually, there's so many complexities, and a little article in Cosmo isn't going to really summarize all of the complex astrological possibilities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think what happens is people don't understand that with all these different possibilities, the more you understand about what's happening to you in terms of these larger cycles, this symbolic picture, the more choice you actually have. If you want to, schedule something and you know it's an auspicious time, in a sense, you're going with the energy. It's like It's like going to the beach and knowing that the weather's going to be nice and the tide's going to be in.
I love that.
Scheduling a picnic. If you know the weather's going to be good, you'll schedule a picnic. If you know it's going to rain, then you'll choose another option.
Yeah. Exactly. So really, this is a tool that can just help give us better understanding of ourselves and other people. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back with Prisiclla Costello here on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, we're going to talk more about astrology and relationships, and we're also going to talk about the Bard and the Stars, a.k.a. astrology and Shakespeare. So stick with us, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Get ready to rid yourself of all that is weighing you down and holding you back. Coming Clean, The Art of Transparency with Catherine Moss is a hit show that brings a real and dynamic message to uncovering and believing in the true amazing being you already are. Tune in and let Catherine help you become truthful, authentic, and mindful of living on purpose one day at a time. Live each Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life? Join award-winning author Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio and learn breakthrough solutions to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with great ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in the first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to Empowerment Radio with host Dr. Friedemann Schaub on Transformation Talk Radio. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com to learn more.
Get ready to experience Truth Talk Radio with host Deb Acker. Tune in to Truth Talk Radio each Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com to illuminate the truth in your daily life as you experience life, love, and abundance from a whole new perspective. This hit show will leave you feeling lighter and bring you into a place of infinite possibilities every day in every way. Visit TruthTalkRadioshow.com for upcoming transformative topics and guests.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Introducing the Lucid Planet, a digital gathering place featuring cutting-edge, high-vibrational content that will empower and inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Visit the Lucid Planet today to stimulate your mind, body, and soul as you connect with a global community of like-minded people. The Lucid Planet is edited by renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly Neff, who is here to help you cope with anxiety, connect to your higher purpose, uncover your true passions, and live your dreams. Dr. Kelly's fresh, compassionate perspective emphasizes growth, transformation, healing, and thriving. Even in the face of adversity, say goodbye to bad news and low vibrational media for good and become part of the larger collective of people working together to navigate the global shift of consciousness and transform the world from within. Join the planet, the Lucid Planet. Visit thelucidplanet.com. Welcome home.
We are back on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, and I am here with counseling astrologer Prisiclla Costello, talking about love, relationships, and Shakespeare and how they pertain to astrology. And don't forget, we're live right now. You can call into the show, 1-800-930-2819 to talk about astrology, 1-800-930-2819. Priscilla, during the break, I was talking about how, I've had my chart read before, and I think it's really important to remember that this is all here to empower us, not to make us kind of passive participants in life where we're ruled by the stars and, the stars are kind of fated or have already kind of decided what's going to happen. Would you agree?
I definitely would agree. There are certain things that have been established in our lives, like we come into a certain historical time period, we have certain parents, we speak a certain language probably as our first language. But once we kind of begin to become independent entities, we have lots of choices. And really astrology is designed to make you, I guess, to give you the tools, to give you the perspective, to give you the understanding, to give you the insights, to give you the information where you can actually not only make better choices on a short term, but I think you can actually accelerate your own evolution by working with the energies.
I love that. And like you said, this is about our connection to nature and the cosmos. And that's really powerful.
It's very, I don't know whether comforting is the right word. It certainly is affirming. Like most of the time I say to my clients, I think for in terms of the information that we get right out of the chart, the basic horoscope, a lot of what I may tell you, you may already know, but it's an affirmation of who you know yourself to be. And how would I know that? Because I've never met you before. So there's something meaningful in the universe in the way you are expressive, an absolute unique individual expression of a larger pattern.
And let me ask you a science question. I really want to get to Shakespeare, but this is something I'm wondering. We talk about the pattern, and we have the constellations in the sky. Is the Earth's kind of wobble going to affect the existing signs, aka as our orientation in the sky changes or as the Earth's orbit becomes more elliptical, will the existing constellations start to look different?
I'm not sure I have enough information to answer that, but here's what I would say is there definitely is a very, very slow-moving pattern where things are changing in our relationship to the larger cosmos.
Yeah.
I would tend to interpret that or talk about it in terms of what's called the precession of the equinoxes, which is too complicated to get into here. But the idea is the constellations are moving very, very slowly backwards, but it's only 1 degree every 72 years. So it's not going to be noticeable in our lifetimes.
Gotcha. And so that whole thing that came out a few years ago about we need to change the sun signs by a month.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear?
And add Ophiuchus. Yeah.
Right. That, do you ascribe to that or do you?
Fundamental thing that those particular scientists, because they don't know anything about astrology, really, they're just talking out of their hats, is they don't understand that there's a difference between the zodiac that's used in Asia, which is the sidereal zodiac, and that is the one that's based around the constellations, and what Western astrologers use, which is the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons. It makes a lot more sense to me to base a zodiac on the seasons because spring is the natural beginning of the year, so why wouldn't we have our relationship to nature, let's say, established at the time when spring comes?
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
Ours is a zodiac, basically.
I did not know that. Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. And I think on that note, let's talk a little bit about Shakespeare. I am like a closet Shakespeare addict, so I was not really closet, but I was very excited to see this topic pop up. And so I guess my question is, how did you stumble into this, or how did you figure this out, that there is a significance of astrology in Shakespearean writing?
You know, I'm embarrassed to say I taught the plays for years and years and years, and I saw all the superficial references to the stars. You know, Romeo on the way to crash the Capulets party says he fears some consequence, yet hanging in the stars shall bitterly begin his fearful date with this night's revels. I mean, there's tons of references.
There's the star-crossed lovers.
They're talking about the stars, or they're talking about eclipses, or they're talking about, you know, the sun and the moon and the planets and so on. And I did pick up on that, but I really didn't see the big picture with it until I actually had time to step back and begin to really probe the plays. And I discovered two things, and one is Shakespeare's using the personality theory of his day. Like, contemporary astrologers are using a 12-sign zodiac, and they tend to do the initial classification of people based on the 12 sun signs. But back in Shakespeare's time, the classification was based on the elements. It's whether you were more geared to air, or more geared to fire, or more geared to water, or more geared to earth. And there had been a long development, 1,500 years of development of a theory called the theory of the humors. And so people were classed according to being one of 4 types, not 12 types. But, you know, it's not that far off from contemporary astrology, because our 12-sign zodiac is divided up into three types, 3 versions of each of those elemental types. So we have, you know, 3 air signs and 3 fire signs and 3 water signs and 3 earth signs. And we
how do they
still talk
decide
about
that?
People being like airheads or couch potatoes, or we say people can be melancholic and so on. And that's right out of Shakespeare's vocabulary. I was astonished to discover how he used those types and yet made them completely individual at the same time. That's part of his genius.
So when
Hamlet's melancholic, but he's so completely Hamlet that, you know, we almost think of him as a live human being, because the questions he asks are the same questions we ask ourselves about, you know, what about death? What about the purpose of life? How do you deal with times in your life when difficult things have happened? I mean, he's had the death of his father, and his mother's married precipitously. He can't handle that. And he starts questioning himself.
You know, when you talk about the humors, this is something that seems to have evolved across all the continents in different ways. You know, the idea of, like, for, say, the Native American medicine wheel, it features the 4 elements. It starts with fire in the east, water in the south, earth in the west, and, you know, wind or air in the north. Yeah. And so this is obviously something that is very resonant or symbolic of as part of our evolution of the collective consciousness.
I think it's something we naturally do, which is we relate ourselves to nature. You know, we talk about people who are full of hot air, or we talk about people who are crybabies that just, and, you know, Ophelia is described that way. And in fact, the Queen says, she, in a sense appropriate, she dies by drowning because she had too much of the water element in her.
I didn't even make that connection.
So I started picking up on this. And now the most exciting thing, though, and this was the thing that astonished me, was I stumbled on this when looking at the play Romeo and Juliet. I began to question why there was a character named Mercutio in the play, because it seemed to me Mercutio had to be a stand-in for Mercury. And the more I looked at the way Mercutio acted and what he said in the play, the more I thought, he's a living embodiment of a certain mercurial type. He talks and talks and talks. He goes on and on and on in the Queen Mab speech, and finally Romeo basically says, enough, Mercutio. You know, shut it, please. And Mercutio still tries to go on for another few lines. And everything else that Mercutio does in his wittiness, for instance, and his kind of mercurial quality, and the fact that he tries to argue Romeo out of his emotional state because he thinks he should just be more intellectual or more mental. And then I said to myself, well, if Mercutio is one of the key characters in this play, maybe there's more going on here that's connected to Mercury. And it eventually found a lot of similarities in the play to actually the sign Gemini, because we're talking about Romeo and Juliet, who are kind of twin souls. They find each other. They're so immediately recognizing of each other. In fact, at the Capulets party, the way that Shakespeare shows you that they have a soul connection is their immediate first lines to each other create a poem, a perfect sonnet. It's really like the two of them just mesh together right from the moment that they meet.
That's so interesting. I never thought about it through that lens. A couple minutes to the break. What do you think that he intentionally did this? I mean, obviously he intentionally did this. Do you think that his audience understood what we've been missing?
Yes to both questions. And, it actually would have been, I think, a natural thing for him to have used these ideas because everybody knew astrology back then. Astrology was used to categorize personality types. It was used in medical diagnosis. The farmers and the gardeners used lunar cycles to do their planting by. I mean, it was just something that was accepted. It was even part of religious discourse. So I think there was an assumption that the heavens, of course, played a role in people's lives. They did argue about how the heavens played a role in people's lives. But certainly there was a familiarity with this. And so I think it might have made more sense for him to have used these particular symbols when he was writing the plays. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized, all of the tragedies are geared to Mars. All of the comedies and romantic comedies are geared to Venus. It really those are the first two categories I would look at. And then
Mars
you can start to see that in some cases certain plays are really geared to particular signs, like Romeo and Juliet is such a Gemini play because it's all about language.
Priscilla, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up the show, and we're going to finish talking more about Mars and Venus and some of Shakespeare's kind of keynote plays and how they manifest different ideas from astrology. So stick with us on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, and we will be right back.
You're better than the best.
Do you want to achieve your goals? Do you want to strengthen relationships with others? Do you want to improve your financial status? Colette Marie Steffen is partnering with Mark Kettenbach to bring you an energetic upgrade online experience. Unfold and develop your full potential. Visit energeticupgrade.com today for more information. That's energeticupgrade.com.
Are you and your family looking for one manageable lifestyle change that will positively impact your health? Look no further. That change begins inside your drinking glass. Learn how to put a lid on junk drinking by sipping from a recipe collection of colorful, fresh, tasty, wholesome fruit and vegetable blends. Get your copy now of Sip the Garden. Fun, easy drinks for a healthier family by T. Carey Mitchell. Visit lifestyle120.com for information on how to order.
Get ready to rid yourself of all that is weighing you down and holding you back from living the life you want for yourself. Coming Clean, The Art of Transparency with Catherine Moss is a hit show for women in recovery who are ready to live life on purpose. Tune in and let Catherine help you live your truth one day at a time. Live each Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now through March for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
Introducing the Lucid Planet, a digital gathering place featuring cutting-edge, high-vibrational content that will empower and inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Visit the Lucid Planet today to stimulate your mind, body, and soul as you connect with a global community of like-minded people. The Lucid Planet is edited by renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly Neff, who is here to help you cope with anxiety, connect to your higher purpose, uncover your true passions, and live your dreams. Dr. Dr. Kelly's fresh, compassionate perspective emphasizes growth, transformation, healing, and thriving, even in the face of adversity. Say goodbye to bad news and low vibrational media for good and become part of the larger collective of people working together to navigate the global shift of consciousness and transform the world from within. Join the planet, the Lucid Planet. Visit thelucidplanet.com. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly. I am here with my guest, Priscilla Costello, and we are wrapping up the show about astrology, psychology, love, and relationships. When we left off, we've been talking about Shakespeare, and Priscilla has a new book out about Shakespeare and astrology, and the idea that he's actually was very inspired by astrology and was incorporating a lot of information about the planets into his plays to help kind of convey his messages to the audience. Did I get that right, Priscilla?
You did, yes.
Excellent.
Thank you for mentioning it.
Absolutely. And I guess it's kind of interesting. Do you think that we could benefit from having more inclusions to astrology in our kind of modern media and modern stories, or are they there and we're just not seeing it?
Well, you know, the strange thing, this is more true in North America than I think any place else in the world, is there's a kind of, I guess it's a taboo. It's an unspoken taboo about discussing astrology seriously. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that the mechanist materialist paradigm is the dominant paradigm right now. And so everybody kind of says, well, no, there can't be any connection between us and the cosmos. And actually, if people only knew, in the last 100 years, there have been amazing developments in modern physics that suggest that, in fact, the astrological perspective is really right on, only it's using a different vocabulary.
You know, that a couple weeks ago, I had Valerie Varan on the show, who's a psychologist, but she's really she's a psychotherapist, but she focuses on quantum physics to help understand psychology.
Quantum physics. That would the whole quantum physics view is so similar to astrology. It's just the language is different.
I love that. I would love to learn more about that too, because we are reaching a singularity. So much of my work has been understanding the intersection of science and kind of spirituality, or the more esoteric traditions. And I was definitely raised in a paradigm and kind of educated in a paradigm which taught that these are completely separate. And of course, in psychology, when we're studying consciousness, and now we're kind of realizing that consciousness might actually be non-local, is what quantum physics is telling us.
Exactly.
Which means it's not inside of your mind. It exists all around us, and that it literally comprises everything.
We forget that back in the 70s and 80s, there were books out there like The Tao of Physics by Fritjof Capra, and a number of other books. There's a really great book called The Science of Oneness. Your readers your listeners might be interested in. The concept that's similar in quantum physics and astrology is the quantum physicists have come up with this idea of entanglement, which is anytime any two particles have been connected, then they're connected forever, even if they separate and seem to be a long distance away. And that's really the principle of astrology, which is interconnectedness, which is really everything is connected, although we may not be perceiving it that way.
I love physics and the stars, and I didn't even study. This is a little known fact about me. I didn't study biology or chemistry. I took 3 years of physics instead, and I ended up doing my own astrophysics independent study. And that was in high school. I was just super into physics, and I've lately started watching the Cosmos series again with Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's produced by Seth MacFarlane, who made Family Guy, but it's such a great series, and it talks about how we are all literally stars. We are literally made of stars.
Isn't that wonderful? I just love that idea.
So that idea of entanglement, the idea that we're all connected to the stars, and the heavenly bodies, the celestial bodies, have an effect on us. We're literally made of the same exact material.
Exactly. We're star stuff.
Yeah. So is it that much of a stretch? You know. I saw a great meme the other day. It was like, yes, you're star stuff, but so is trash. So don't get all excited about yourself. Anyway, I really like that. I guess I have a couple more questions as we're winding down the show in the next 5 minutes. But It's been great having you on. I want to ask about eclipses. You mentioned that Shakespeare alluded to a lot of eclipses, and we know that eclipses are very powerful. And we've just had a crazy series of the blood moon eclipses and solar eclipses. And what do eclipses mean for humanity, in your opinion?
That's a question that would take a lot longer than 5 minutes, but here's the short version.
Sorry.
In Shakespeare's time and before, way back in history, eclipses were viewed as really negative things because, I mean, it was terrifying to have the light of the sun blocked out because the animals in nature really react to that. There's something that disturbs the whole energy field of Earth when that sunlight is intercepted, when the moon gets in between the Earth and the sun. And I think similar when lunar eclipses happen. I got up in the middle of the night once and went out and watched a lunar eclipse, and I have to say the energy was just so weird. It's very hard to explain it. It just really felt weird. But modern astrologers tend to be more, sophisticated may be a good word here. There's a more nuanced interpretation of eclipses. There are 2 times during the year when you definitely will have eclipses, and there's always a lunar eclipse when there's a solar eclipse. And that will come within the space of a month because the lunar eclipse will be either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after the solar eclipse. Those are wonky months. So the next month that's coming up that's an eclipse month is this September. So I think it's going to be a bit wonky, and it was definitely wonky back in March because there's definitely weird things that are going on right now in terms of the aspects that we have. So the important thing to notice, and you'll have to get an astrologer to tell you this, is the eclipse hitting something in your chart? If it's going to be meaningful for you, then it has to hit something in your chart.
That's interesting because sometimes when there's an eclipse, I feel it very strongly and everything just feels completely off. And I feel really driven to kind of break things down or to burn things down or to change something really dramatically. And then other times I don't feel anything at all. So not everybody is affected equally. Is that the same for...
You can see it happening in the culture. You can sometimes see things happening in terms of the political or the economic or the social situation. But whether it has an impact on you personally, the eclipse has to actually trigger something in your chart. Every eclipse is going to hit a particular area, like what's called a house area. So it highlights some particular area of your life, but it may be stronger or less strong depending on what it's, the chart's like a spider web in a sense. It has to hit a particular thread in that web for it to vibrate in your particular life.
So really, people out there, download your chart. You can probably get it for free on the internet. You absolutely can. Do you have any opinions of astrology websites that are better than others that people should go to? Because I know some people say some of them are like they lie or it's not true. Or do you have any thoughts on the websites?
Well, I think anybody can put their shingle out and say they're an astrologer, or anybody can put stuff on the internet. And that's a problem with every area, not just astrology. You got
to think critically about everything you read. I completely agree.
That's right. Yeah. It would help if the person has an affiliation with a professional organization. My principal affiliation is with the National Council for Geocosmic Research. They have a 4-level educational program. They have chapters in different cities in the U.S. Ask the person if you're getting a reading or if you're reading stuff on the internet, try to find out what their credentials are. They should have many years of experience, or they should have an affiliation with a professional organization. There's also ESAR, there's the American Federation of Astrologers. There are training programs, people who do teach astrology. And then the other thing to watch for is you can tell if the person is giving you a rich reading if they are giving you options. They should give you options instead of saying, oh, well, if this is in your chart, you have to be this. Or if this is happening to you astrologically, it has to be this. That's the sign of an amateur. Sure.
I love that. That's really all we have time for, Priscilla, but I want to remind our listeners that they can find you at PriscillaCostello.com, and they can also ask you for a reading, right?
They can, and I just want to mention that my introductory book, which unfortunately has not a great title, but it's the Weiser Guide to Practical Astrology, and it's part of a series. It's actually a really nice, readable, approachable introduction to the basics of astrology. It would be great for your listeners if they were interested in learning something of the language. That's a very accessible book.
Very cool.
I want to do the Shakespeare book, which is explanatory of the whole astrological worldview, and it really opens up Shakespeare so people can enjoy Shakespeare that much more.
That is great. Well, thank you so much, Priscilla, everyone. You can find out much more on her website, PriscillaCostello.com. And thank you all for tuning in this week to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly. I had such a great time and I learned a lot. And you can join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Mountain, and 2 p.m. Pacific, as well as finding more about me and the show at thelucidplanet.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, The Lucid Planet with Dr. Kelly. You can find all of our podcasts for free on Lucid Planet Radio, as well as iTunes and SoundCloud, just by typing in, you got it, Lucid Planet Radio. Next Wednesday, I will have author Lori McCannon on the show, who will be telling us how to liberate ourselves and remake the world by remembering that we are enough. I love that. So stay tuned for that. Light and love. I will see you next week. Thanks again, Priscilla.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And really, you're wonderful at what you do, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about something that I love so much.
Oh, right on. I love you too. That's great. Everyone, we'll see you next week. Take care.
You've been listening to the hit show, Lucid Planet Radio, with renowned psychologist and author, Dr. Kelly Neff. Tune in each week as we illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. This hit show will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake up to the greatest version of yourself. Learn how to navigate the global shift of consciousness as you explore the deeper knowledge, passion, and purpose within. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for upcoming show topics and to contact Dr. Kelly.